Well, I do welcome you out. We're going to have a good class, and that we're going to go over some of the simple things about demo basics. And these demo basics are to get you started, to get you comfortable with what we have as a product, not necessarily to make you the expert. That comes over time, but to get going on what are the basic things that you should be able to show in order to really answer the questions or get the customer comfortable. You want the prospect comfortable that, yeah, the system does look good. It is easy. It's not complex. You want that comfort level, and that's what these demo basics are going to get for you. So let's take a look at like a spreadsheet here. If you're doing different verticals, and I chose the three most popular verticals, which are the table service, quick service, and pizza. And then I also put a column in for Mesa because the Mesa Plus aspect of the software does add a lot to it. So when you're looking at table service, the things that you need to be able to show and discuss and be comfortable with: screen layout. You need to be able to do a basic transaction. And I mean, it's a one item cash just a basic transaction to show the simplicity of the system. You can get into more complex ordering, that's fine, and that works out well in the long run. But you don't have to do it your first order. The first order should really be simple, one item in cash. You're going to show hostess seating and reservations. All those two really show together, but you need to be able to show those and be comfortable with what they are. Hold and fire, that is a big deal. Not all tablet systems can do hold and fire. So you need to show that so that you are setting the stage to make your competition uncomfortable. Then there's split check. Now I put in here both methods. We really have three methods of split check that I'll show when we get to the demonstration portion. You need to be able to transfer checks. This is something that some systems struggle with. And you want to show how simple it is to transfer a check. In reality, what happens at the end of a shift or when a server goes on break, they have to transfer that check or the open checks to another server. And that is a very common thing in the restaurant business. You need to make sure that that is something that you can show. And then correct modifiers, that's that salt and pepper button that allows you to bring up the modifiers and reshuffle or fix a mistake that was made prior to sending it to the kitchen. All those things are what I consider to be the basics that you need to understand. Then there's quick service, and most of those are the same, but you need to have a basic transaction. You need to understand drive-through, single and double window. Double window drive-through is really, it's a, I want to call it a gimmick. It's they do double windows to give you as the customer the impression that things are moving. It really doesn't speed up the process, but it keeps you as the customer busy. So you think that, okay, I'm doing something. I've got to get to that first window. That's my goal. And then the second window. I've seen them even try 3 windows, but it doesn't do any good other than, well, all it does really is raise the labor cost. It doesn't make things faster. It just gives the perception that you're moving faster. In quick service, you need to understand discounts and coupons. Coupons are a little bit of a strange bird. That is the only way that a restaurant can print their own money. And that's really what a coupon is printing their own currency. Therefore, it needs to be balanced like a currency, and it's generally not. They generally just toss them over to the side. They don't realize that that's money or taking the place of American currency by putting up their own currency. And then cashiering out is really the only difference there is, instead of a server in a restaurant, table service balancing themselves, the cashier has to do a little bit different routine. And then pizza, you got to be able to show the whole, halves, and thirds, delivery order, customer profile, driver management. All those things are different in the pizza uh, industry that you don't have in other portions or other industries. Not as prevalent. You may run across a table service restaurant that wants to do delivery. Great. Pull your demo expertise from the pizza and apply it over here for the delivery. And then finally, Mesa, you have to have it on your phone. So download the app onto your phone so that you can show it and be comfortable with it. You guys are going to have, or you already have, a demo store that is called the Happy Grill. Use it. You get a login from your sales support staff and use that demo and get comfortable with it. It's going to be the same one I'm going to show today. Now, for ability to discuss without showing, that first slide was, I need you to be able to be comfortable showing it. This one, you need to have the comfort level that you can at least discuss it, not expecting you to show it, such as the third-party delivery. You need to be able to discuss how to interface with Grubhub or Uber Eats and those things. You need to understand how to shift table sections, so you don't have to show it, but you need to discuss it. KDS is important in quick service, not so much in table service, but in quick service, it is important, and you need to be able to discuss how that is going to work. I would suggest that you have screenshots on your iPad so you can show pictures. That's an advantage of showing on a tablet, and that you can exit the point of sale, swipe up to exit the point of sale, and then show actual pictures of a KDS or a kiosk. Those things can be shown via picture rather than having a live feed to the KDS. Pizza, you need to be able to discuss driver mapping and how that works, and how when we dispatch the driver to deliver the pizza, we actually send an email to their phone that then allows them to use whatever mapping software they have on their phone to route themselves to the next delivery. And then on the Mesa, you want to discuss QR code ordering and how to pay at the door using an A920 Pro or whatever current device we have. The back office cloud. You will have access to a back office cloud site. You can use your same username and password to get into that site. And there you'll be able to show reporting, changing a price, employee file on all three different verticals. You want to make sure that the customer's comfortable with that. And you can even show it on a phone, whereas some of our competition will actually have a phone app that they charge for. What we did instead is that you can go to the back office on your phone or mobile device, and our software on the cloud will reformat to that type of screen, whatever screen that is. It is still legible, and it is still easy to show if you choose to show just how that looks. It is full access. It is also very complete. It's just like if you were on a desktop or a tablet. It's the same functionality on a phone. You should be able to discuss scheduling and advanced pricing. Now, I'll teach in our classes, I teach you how to actually do those things, but you need to be comfortable enough to discuss, yes, we have scheduling. Yes, it does have multiple shifts per day, and it is by employee. You can email or text those shifts to their staff. So generally, just some demo guidelines. Keep transactions simple, keep them smooth, and make them real. You can do that without getting too complex. What happens when you get too complex, you might get a little flustered or get out of line and forget where you are and have issues. And you don't want to have issues. You want to have, I use basically the same transaction every time so that I know what's going to happen and I know what every button does before I press it. That's what you don't want a surprise. You don't want to press a button that you don't know what's going to happen and have something goofy come up. You want to make sure that your transaction is the same every time, and then you practice it until you get it right. Do it over and over and over so that you know I press this button for my app, I press this button for my salad, and I press this button for my entree. And by doing so, I know what each one of those is going to do. You do want to customize the screens. Now, this is a login screen for my coffee demo. You can have different images popping up behind your 10 keypad. You don't have to have it the same, that navy or dark blue that we have as the standard one. Put up your own images. And you can make these images change every 30 seconds. So you can have multiple images moving and transitioning back behind that 10 keypad. Gives it a more custom look. You want to add the restaurant's name. You can take a picture of the restaurant and make that the back behind screen. But add the restaurant's name to it. And you'll see I've got here a logo above my 10 keypad. That is the restaurant's logo. Put it there. It's easy to do. You want to add the owner's name to the system so that when you're ringing up or using them as a server, that you have their name on the ticket. Just a nice little touch. And then focus your presentation and your demo on the needs that were uncovered during your survey. If you're doing table service and you had a table service survey and they had issues, focus on those issues. If you're in quick service, you don't have to show the table layouts and those things. Customize the demo to get to the targeted aspects of the presentation. Don't venture off into things that they don't need. You'll lose their attention and you won't have their focus. You want to focus on the ROI features that were uncovered. We talked about 5 last week. There may be others that come up during your survey, but focus on those ROI features. I talked about having 5. 3 is probably enough, so you don't have to go crazy, but focus on those ROI features. Focus on the advantages that you have over your competition. You should have at least asked a question about who else are you looking at. You should also know what's installed in the restaurant if it's an open restaurant. Get to know your competition and their weak spots. By doing so, you can focus on the advantages you have rather than pointing a finger at your competition. I do not like talking bad about our competition. I like talking good about our product. I stay out of the ditches. I don't get muddy and sling mud. That's just my style, and it's worked well for me for 40-something years. Be positive and keep it on the up and up, and you'll look better in the long run. And you can bring attention to the disadvantages of your competition by focusing on what you do better. You're going to force your competition out of their comfort zone. You want to make sure that you're focusing on the things that they don't do or that cost, because add-ons add cost. So you want to look at your labor schedule module. You want to look at your delivery module, your pizza module, those things that are included with the software that are not included with your competition. Add-ons add cost. Take a look at these. Knowing your competition now, look at the things that we do better. iOS and Android in the same network is very unusual. This gives the customer the advantage of choosing whatever hardware they want to run on. We're not going to force them into a proprietary hardware scenario like your competition does. We're open architecture, and that is a big difference. Hostess reservations, time and attendance, all these things that I'm showing here are the modules that are included. The red ones are the ones that are not included by your competition that cost extra. So if you can pick 3 and 4 of these to make them important enough to the restaurant owner that he has to have them, that they cannot do without them, then all of a sudden you're forcing your competition to add cost to their system, giving you an even greater advantage. At some point, we'll get into the competitive analysis and start looking at the cost, but you guys have sold other systems. You should know the cost of those modules to add on to your competition. By doing that, you're going to give us a distinct advantage when it comes to pricing. Involve the buyer where you can. Keep the conversation going. I like to do the conversational selling where you talk to them, have them talk back to you, make it a conversation. You want to paint the picture of the system in the restaurant. So you can literally, I have done this, do a drawing on a whiteboard to show the layout of the terminals and what they're to expect. How many printers are going to have, where these printers are going to be placed, a KDS here, a printer here, label them. Draw the picture of the system in their restaurant to give them an idea of what it's going to be like. And you're starting to get them involved emotionally. Go hands-on if you can. It's not a bad thing just to hand them the phone and let them order on Mesa, or hand them the tablet and let them order their own, place their own order. Get them comfortable and hands-on if you have that opportunity. It's always a good thing to get them emotionally involved. Because you got to remember, people buy emotionally and then justify their decision with logic later on. So get them emotionally involved. Close with confidence, because you know your numbers, know what your ROI features are, and be able to have that conversation with them. Be able to express them with confidence, knowing that you're right. The system is going to justify itself. It is going to cost justify. It is going to be an advantage to them. They are making the right decision. Know what you're going to talk about and do it with confidence, but always be ready for the objections. You know they're going to come. You know they're not just going to say, "Yeah, please give it to me. I want it right now." They're going to say something. Now, what is that something? Price is too high. I'm always going to say that. Well, then know how to combat that, or know how to handle those objections. Get used to them. Know they're going to come, and be prepared with your answer. I have to tell myself to just pause before I answer, because I know what they're going to ask, and I've already got my answer ready. And I sometimes have found myself interrupting them when they're starting to ask the question. Know your answer. Know how to respond to an objection. Anticipate them. They're going to come. Get ready for them. And always know the easiest way to double your sales is by what? Closing more. If you're closing at 20%, the easiest way to double your sales is to be a better closer and be a better salesperson and close better and raise your closing percent to 40%. Go from 20 to 40, you just doubled your sales without having to pull more doors or do more presentations. It's not any, well, it's certainly not harder. And in fact, it's a lot easier if you just know how to sell and know your objections, how to handle them, know your competition, how to make your competition uncomfortable. You do the right things, you can double your sales without having to do more work. All right, what kind of questions you guys have?
I don't have any questions. I think you hit the nail on the head, right? To me, right, the most important questions are those probing questions of what they're lacking today with their current point of sale, or maybe they don't even have a point of sale. What are they trying to fix, right? And those are the important pieces that I tell sales reps to be able to get, right? I used to do the demos myself, and you can't go into doing a demo blind and not knowing what's going on with that particular merchant, right? And that's, explains it right then and there why you need all those probing questions and those answers to all that stuff if somebody else is doing that demo.
Yes. So the three classes that we've had so far, have been leading up to this is it. This is where the money is. If you can do the survey, have that conversation, uncover those pain points, then get to the point where you're actually showing the solution. I don't like to say that I'm doing a pitch or a demo. I am actually doing a presentation of a solution. I'm solving their problem. They need what I have, and I'm obligated to help them out. That's what this presentation here, this portion of the sales process is. So let's take a look at what we got. All right, this is the Happy Grill demo database. This is the same database that we provided you guys. So you'll be able to show pretty much exactly what I'm showing today. But get comfortable with this screen, these buttons, what this thing is going to do, so that you know ahead of time before you touch a button what it's going to do. I start off by talking about the 10 keypad and the different ways that you can log into the system, which are obviously using the last 4 digits of the social security number. That's usually the most common one that's used, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be a 3-digit number. It can be the barcode, which is a QR code rather, on an employee card. You can use that as well. The camera on the iPads and the in most Androids, not all Androids have a camera, so you have to be selective, but you can actually use an employee card scanned by the camera and it opens it up. This is an option screen. You don't have to have this, but this allows the restaurant to then divide their sales into 5 different categories. Each one of these has a different functionality. It operates a little different, and it has price levels. So you can have a dine-in price, and then a curbside price, a takeout price, a delivery price, and then a price at the bar. You have all those different price levels in the system that are activated just by going to this screen and then choosing how you want to operate. I'm going to select dine in. And when I do that, you have your table management screen layout. These are all flexible in that you can move them around. You can then you can have buttons with icons on them. On one of my demos, I have little pictures of tables. I have a 4-top table, a round table, or a square table, or a booth. You can put actual pictures on these buttons to help move them, make them look more like the restaurant, and place them like the tables around the wall, and then the table sections in the center. But the only thing you can't do is put plants. You can't put trees and stuff in here, but it does lay out pretty well. There are sections that you swipe over to the right, and you have different sections. Easy. No limit on the number of sections. You can have upstairs, downstairs, patio, poolside, different sections of that restaurant. To start the transaction, you simply touch the table. Now I'm on an iPad, so my iPad screen allows me to have the ticket window across the top. Very easy to see. It's nice and wide. The buttons down the left, these are the categories or the groups of items on the menu. So generally you section off, or when you build the database, you build it according to the menu. These are the buttons down the left. The ones on the right are the function keys. These stay here most every screen, but the only screen it's not on is the tender screen, and I'll show you that in a minute. The buttons in the center, these are your items. They are up to, let's see, let's think it's 6, 7 by 5, 35 per screen. And if you have more than that, you can scroll over and have a second screen per item, per section. You can do gesturing, which is taking your finger like you do on a phone and swipe up or down to get to the next section. Generally, that's faster than going down here to the left and touching the category key here. The way I ring up is I'll touch one item and you'll see it now appear on the screen. The description on the left, the little blue guy on the left, that's the seat number, price, quantity, and subtotal. You do have functions within that screen, within the ticket window, and that if you touch the item, you now have some options. The stopwatch is a hold. You place the item on hold. To the right, you can then change the quantity, and then the far right is you can apply discounts. The blue bar underneath, it says click here to enter a note. That allows you to actually enter a instruction or a note to the kitchen. I'm going to swipe up and ring up a salad. Swipe up, and you can ring up an entree. Swipe up.
Hey, Jerry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say something on when you put those notes in, you can actually on your iPad, and you know this because you used it setting up menus, but you can just hit the talk button on it, and you can enter all of the notes just using the talk feature on your iPad, which is really cool. I showed that to a customer and they're like, oh, that would save us so much time trying to type in, make your, add onions or whatever kind of something that they wanted.
Yeah, it's doing your voice right now. Who can
Right.
type that fast? Everybody's scared to say something now.
Yeah, so I love that. I love that. It's when people see that, they're like, oh my God, that would save us so much time and effort. And anyway, I think it's really cool that you can do that and use your voice to, and the iPad does it real well too.
You can, real simple. Extra salt on the side.
Yep.
That's easy.
Yep.
And that's a good point,
Yeah.
right? So when you do a steak, you're going to have your temperatures, your forced modifiers. A forced modifier is exactly what it says. It forces the operator to enter a choice before moving on. And you'll notice at the top, there's a little red exclamation point, and that is showing that one choice is required. So you make that choice here, and it jumps over to the next. This is another forced modifier. So you can have multiple forced modifiers. It's asking what steak sauce do you want. I'm going to choose no sauce. And now I'm to the optional modifiers. These can be like some certain entrees, you get two choices. And if you make a third choice, it then becomes a priced option. So we can have it where two are free. Anything more than that are charged. You also have the ability to swipe over and do upcharges. So if you want upcharge to add shrimp, you can. On the bottom, the blue button, that is the done button. Now that item's been entered. Now what I did is now I've shown in this one section now, this one order, I've kept it very simple, but it's very straightforward, and it shows pretty much how a table service operation is going to run. But let's say one step further, I want to make a change, and I look and I see medium, no sauce, and I go, well, that's a mistake. I missed that. Let's go back. I touch the salt pepper shaker, and I go back and I can make my choices or make my changes before I send it to the kitchen. Any changes I make that are priced will change the price as well. You can also do a hold and fire by doing a timed hold or a manual hold, or actually putting it for another date in the future. So you do have the ability to do timed orders as far as future orders. Think about it from the catering standpoint. We get this question a lot. Can I enter catering orders in the system? And absolutely. And that's how you do it with this hold and fire. You can place the item on hold, or you can place the entire order on hold. I'm going to place this on a manual hold, and now you see my stopwatch is turned red. So I've got 2 items on hold. The salad and the appetizer are going to fire when I hit the done button on the bottom. And that's gone to the kitchen. The other 2 items are being held. To recall it, I go back and there's my little tombstone. You can see those 2 items are on manual hold. I can release that by going to the stopwatch, hitting clear hold. When I hit the done button now, those 2 items now go to the kitchen. So holding fire can be a timed event, manual, or a future order. Now let's say I have presented the check and the customer now is just now telling me it's split orders. Used to be this was a real solid pain. And it happens. It happens every day. So let's go out and do this a little different. Now, I told you there's three ways to do it. I'm going to show you here at the top, this little blue dude here. If I touch that, I can add a seat. I just now have seat 2. So which order am I going to be? I can do seat 1 or seat 2. But I can also touch here and split by saying those 2 items are seat 1, that item and this item are going to be seat 2. So now I can do it that way. And now print the check, and it's going to print split by seat. So now I have 2 orders that are split by seat. If the server enters the order by seat, as they should, when they get to this portion to split checks, it's just a 1 button push. That's nothing. That is easy. So now I have the 2 checks that are split, and they can continue to order items or they can cash out. So let me do that. Let me cash these out. Let's come back in and enter another order that I'm not going to do that way. Let's go in and split this a different way. Go to the 3 dots here. That's called the ellipsis button. Over to the left is split order. And now I can split this by touching the item and then touching the ticket. Touching the item and touching the ticket. So I can move it by item as well. Doing it this way, I have the option to then split an item. So I will touch the item, slide my finger over, and do share 2 ways. And now I've just shared that appetizer. That is rare for a tablet system to do. The Windows systems, pretty common. Not so common with a tablet system. When I'm done, it's going to ask me, do you want to print the checks? If I do, I print them and present those to the customer. The red button at the top shows I have other tickets or other splits on that system, on that table. And there it is. Now, when I go to tender, there's my split check. I can email, text, or print the receipt. So now what I've done is I've now shown to the customer 2 simple orders, but yet showed the features that are most important when you get to the point of sale. I've shown how to ring up with modifiers, force modifiers, correct an item, hold and fire, then split check and split item. That's a lot of actually most of the features that are important to a table service restaurant. All right, any questions about that? Brad, is
Actually,
that something you're comfortable with?
Oh yeah, it looks good. Thanks, Jerry. I love the way you demo that stuff. Really does help a lot.
Jerry,
Yeah.
one quick question, kind of going back to firing and holding, right? So can you talk to the way that it's firing back to the kitchen and you're able to put the different modifiers and force modifiers in different places on the receipt? Such as maybe I want the temperature of the steak up top or on the bottom. Can those be varied? Can those change in particular order if a restaurant wants one in a certain
Yeah,
order?
actually, we have, not only do you have the routing of the order to different printers, so we take that one order, but we split it to go to salad printer, entree printer, grill, fry, that. But by printer, we can designate the order in which those items print on the receipt going to the kitchen. So some people like to have their short prep items first and their longer prep items last. So no matter how they're entered at the point of sale, the ticket reorganizes itself to then display to the kitchen in the proper order. Is that what you're asking? Okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right. Now, as far as front of house, that's pretty much what I show, unless they have questions. And a lot of times they are asking me questions because their current system doesn't do it like they want. And Robert, your question is exactly one of the ones that would get asked. Is can you reorganize or display the items to the kitchen in the proper order? That is a very common question that might come up, and you want to have the ability yet to answer the question, but you want them to be involved enough to ask it. You want those interactions to come across. Now, you can show back of house from the iPad. The way you do that is I'm going to exit with the done button over here, come back here, and now go to the hamburger button and go to manager. This is where you're going to enter in your username and password. And then you understand now this is your back office. You have to remember you're on an iPad, so you don't really have a mouse. Even though, yeah, I guess you could. You do have the ability now to link an Apple mouse to an Apple iPad. So if you want to, you could do that. I'm just still using my finger to swipe up and move around. This is your dashboard. This is going to come up and show you your current sales. And this is showing order types. So sales by order type, top selling items, and the top 10 labor alerts. So this is the basics of what you're looking at. You do get into analytics. I go to the sales and I talk about how the black bar here at the top, that is your drop down for choosing different calendars and different ranges of dates. When you do that, each of these have that little same black bar that you can then change and look at different sales totals. You don't have to show all the details of all the reports, but you do need to show certain key things. For instance, the green button here is the export. You'll get asked a lot. Can you export this to Excel or other programs? And answer is absolutely. You can do a PDF or an Excel format export. Every report has that ability. When you get into the performance reports, you're going to show you'll have a lot more options here because you see now the graph, the circle graph has got colors to it. Well, that now shows that you have items that have been sold. And this is a graphical way of showing the sales breakout. I'm going to do sales by category per item. I'm going to touch that And now you get the PDF version of the report, the actual numbers that go into it. So you get it visually, and then you get it numerically. Once they start asking about reports, they're most likely going to ask for something that is important to them. There are a lot of reports here. Get comfortable with knowing where they are, and don't be afraid just to look at them. Because we've done a lot with reporting. Under labor, you do have labor forecasts based upon your sales history, labor schedules. Those are important to show. We do have a lot of those labor schedules. Some of them are built in, but you can also build your own. Go through all the reports to get comfortable with what they are. Don't be an expert, just know what they are. The last one I want to show you, though, is audit. This is built upon a concept called management by exception. So you have exception reports, things that are out of the norm, things that are not the way they should be. So you can look here and see certain things. I like the one that's a high tip warning. So if you have a sale that's got a very low sale amount but a very high tip amount, that's an alert that you should be aware of, or the restaurant should be aware of, that servers getting tipped exceptionally high. Why? Did they give away drinks? Did they give away sodas and teas and coffees? Did they not? What did they not charge for that got them such a high tip based upon the sales? So you set the limit of what you want to look at. In fact, even the system can have a high tip alert that requires a manager to approve a tip over X percent. So there's a warning here. There's a report that actually shows that. Then you have others that you can look for, like a reprint. If you have a server who keeps reprinting the same ticket, that's an opportunity for theft as well. That means they're just printing the same ticket as and giving it to the customer, getting the customer to pay it, but it's not entered into the system. That's a theft issue. You can look at the products area under items and see what the program looks like. A lot of times the customers know how hard is it to change a price. So you would bring up an item, show here that you just enter in the new price. Once you hit save at the bottom of the screen here, that then updates the point of sale immediately. There's no other buttons to press. It will update the transaction actually during the middle of a transaction. So at this point, I would ask, what else would you like to see? I've shown them reports. I've shown them how to change the price. The stuff below here where it starts with settings, they really don't need to get into that. That's something that we teach them, but it's not something they need to understand at this point. You would start getting into the clutter and getting the things that they would not want to get into. Settings is literally what we set up the system. App market is where you would choose additional products, interfaces, whatever. These are companies that have interfaced with our system. We don't charge for these, but the companies, they do. They have their way of monetizing their own add-ons, but these are add-on products. All right, guys, what questions do you have?
I don't have many, Jerry. You know, one of the things that I have been finding during the week, last week especially, we ran across a lot of people that absolutely love their system. and I think it's because they don't want to look at something that's they're going to have to change and stuff. So one of the things that I used was I asked them in their fountain drink, I said, how many sodas you got left in your fountain drink over there? And they said, I have no idea. I said, would that be great to know? And they said, yeah. And I said, so you'll really love this system. Give us the opportunity to present it to you. That's just one of the few things that, because we just kept running across it all the time. No, we're not interested. We just, even though it's an old system, we ran across some old Focus systems, some other systems I didn't even know they were so old. I didn't even know what they were. And then we started talking to them about power outages and what they did when their internet and power went out, because we're out here on an island, their power goes out all the time and their internet takes a dive. So they are stuck with these old legacy POS systems. They're just completely out. So that's been another really good thing that we've been using, as these things will run all of your, run everything, even with the power being out and your internet being out. And they're like, how does that work? That's what we'd like to show you. So anyway.
Well, you're uncovering a pain point.
That's right.
And that's really what we're teaching, Brad, is how to uncover those pain points and then use that to your advantage. And you're 100% right. We run without power. And how long do you want to run? We've taught a class on how to run a restaurant with no power using UPS and solar. You can put a solar charger in place and run the entire system on that, because the printer doesn't use power unless it's printing. It really doesn't use that much power. It just has a light on. I mean, that's about it until the printer runs, and then it uses power for those few seconds. So a 1,000 watt solar system would run a restaurant, run a POS system with printers, and it run it for all day.
Yep.
Think of food trucks and how they run. We work in food trucks really well because of our cell-enabled devices. The iPad can be a cell-enabled device. You don't need to pay for expensive Wi-Fi or have spotty Wi-Fi. As long as you have a cell signal, you have Wi-Fi.
Or you could use an 8920, right, with 4G. Yep.
Yeah, you sure could. Simple. The systems have come so far in the last few years.
Yeah,
What do
food
you
truck-
think their reluctance to taking a look at a new system is, Jared? Do you think it's price? Do you think it's going to be hard on them to make the changeover because all of their employees are really used to every function and feature on their point of sale system, and they're scared that, hey, we don't want to get into something we don't understand and slow us down instead of speed us up? What have you found is probably, how can we eliminate some of those pain points that they, ahead of time up front, because sometimes they just say, hey, I'm not interested. We love our system. It works great. We don't have no problems. And they don't really, they don't know. They got a lot of problems. They would love a lot of things fixed, but they're not really kind of willing to share it. I feel that, because they feel like they're going to get sold something real quick because they know they need it, but.
Well, every human that I have ever met is scared of change. So they have a level of fear of change. And if their pain is not more than that level of fear of change, they're not going to change. So either you have to reduce the level of fear or bring out more pain. The solutions that we offer eliminate a lot of the pains. So lowering the fear of change might be the easiest to do. They're generally scared of, is it going to slow my operation or affect my operation negatively? That's the first thing. They're also going to be afraid of cloud because they don't know what that is. They see white puffy things in the sky and they think cloud. They don't know where their data is. They don't know that it's secure and it's behind firewalls, which again is a term that may not be as comforting to them. Our system is hosted by Amazon Web Services, AWS. And that takes their data and puts it on to computers in server farms, and we then protect their data by distributing it amongst several different Amazon farms. That then protects their data from being hacked. They don't have to lose their data. It's always accessible, and we've never lost anything because of the multiple backups that we have of their store file on multiple different servers. That should be a comfort to them. Brad, I have a video that I've done on why cloud is better than Windows. And I recommend that you take a look at that.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've got it bookmarked, real easy to show too. So
that reporting is a huge factor, right? So on a server-based solution, you got remote desktop in, dual authentication, blah, 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 blah. So basically, you got to be at the restaurant 24/7 to see what's going on. With the cloud-based solution, you could be at the beach, you could be at home. You have access to all that information at the snap of a finger.
I was camping this weekend on a river, St. Johns River here in Florida. And I'm watching the boats go by and whatever, and I'm out on my tablet, in my chair in front of the camper, doing whatever work I wanted to do. And that's exactly what, Robert, you're talking about. Access it from any internet connection on the planet. Make those changes. You don't have to be in the store. Same thing with our tech support. We don't have to physically be in the store to make those changes. It's just that simple. So the restaurant owner doesn't have to be in the restaurant. We don't have to be in the restaurant to support it. And since we're on AWS, it is solid cloud backups. We've never lost a store of data. We've never lost that because we have so many backups. So there's comforting things that you can help them with and understand that it's not big and scary. It's really simplified over the years.
great points.
Gosh, I remember in the early days of Windows, there was no backup unless you had a tape drive in your system. And the big deal was you had to have dual hard drives, multiple two computers in the back office. If you really wanted to back up your data, those two had to be in sync. It was a expensive nightmare to set up and expensive to keep up. Now we don't have that problem. It's done actually automatically as part of the hosting, and of course hosting is included with our system.
I worked with an Aloha dealer, and he would have 3 hard drive backups.
Yep.
You know, just because those things would go down, and if you had it was a nightmare when they did. So he could just go and pop in a new hard drive, but he charged, I don't know, it's like $3,000 for each hard drive as backup.
Yeah.
And then of course it wasn't backed up, but every month or so. Anyway, just mostly their menu items and stuff. But if there were changes, then they backed it up. If they didn't, they just kept it in a box.
And that was the exact system I was talking about. All right, Robert, that is my presentation for today.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Much appreciated. Great information as always.
Yeah, appreciate it, Jerry.
Right.
Like always.